Hey everybody, it is late at night and I am Norman. It's time for some more news, so let us begin. The first story that I have comes from Hodinkee, and this is an article reviewing the 38mm Murph watch. So originally, Hamilton built the Murph watch specifically for the movie Interstellar. However, after this movie's release, the demand for this watch was such that Hamilton decided to release it to the public. These original watches had 42mm case sizes, and given the fact that these watches are a field watch style, that's really large. However, recently Hamilton has released a 38mm version. So what do I think of this watch? I think it's absolutely gorgeous. However, since they are downsizing it a bit, I think it would be good, because it's such a field watch style watch, it would be good to release a 36 and a 38. Maybe keep the 42 available for people, so you have 3 different sizes to choose from. I love the curved, polished case. You can really dress this watch up, and I don't even mind the cathedral-style hour hand. It looks really good on this watch. The numeric indices are on point, and it looks so great on a leather strap. So kudos to Hamilton for 1, making this available to the public, and 2, providing it at a sub 40mm size case. Brilliant. The next article I have comes from Habring 2. And this article featured a watch with what is called a Foudroyante hand. I had no idea what a Foudroyante hand was. So with the particular piece that they were discussing in this article, it featured a jumping seconds hand, so it ticks like a quartz watch, and at the 9 o'clock was a subdial that has a Foudroyante hand in it. And a Foudroyante hand basically moves with every tick of the balance spring. So it's like having a sub-seconds dial that's rapidly spinning around at the 9 o'clock. Kind of like you would get with an ultra-precise chronograph. What do I think of these hands? I feel like a Foudroyante hand that's constantly going like that might be kind of a problem. It's very hyper, and I feel like I would just feel kind of nervous with a watch that's kind of going crazy on my wrist at all times. However, it's kind of a cool complication. So it doesn't burn any more of the power reserve of the watch. It simply has a hand that moves along with the balance spring. That's pretty crazy. And I think it pairs really well with the jumping seconds hand. So you have that ultra precise 1 second tick along with sub-seconds that are racing away at the 9 o'clock. I just feel like it might be a bit nervous looking. A little bit too fast and crazy to be constantly doing that. But maybe that's just me. Featured in this article was a video displaying this hand in action. So you can see it over here. That's pretty crazy. So now I know what Foudroyante hands are. My next little bit of news doesn't come from any specific article. While I was going through the news, I stumbled upon a piece where someone referred to a movement as a workhorse movement. This is a phrase that we hear all the time in reference to various movements. And when I read that, it struck me as a little bit odd, because I own a lot of mechanical watches and a lot of inexpensive vintage mechanical watches. My Paliots, for example. And I have no idea when these movements were last serviced, but they seem to be running pretty well. In fact, all of my mechanical watches have been running really well. The only watch that I've had serviced is the pull router. Now I know that it's a good idea to service your mechanical watches on a regular basis, whether you choose to do that every 5 years or every 10 years. However, I feel like most mechanical movements are actually workhorse movements. I mean, how many times have you seen a watch repair video where we're dealing with a watch that hasn't been serviced in like 40 or 50 years, and it does kind of run still? That's a long time to not be serviced. And yet still that movement with a good cleaning works just fine. In fact, I've seen a lot of these videos where after servicing, the movement is behaving like a brand new mechanical movement. So I don't know, I kind of feel like most mechanical movements are actually workhorse movements. But I could be wrong. The next article I have comes from our friends at Monochrome Watches, and this is an article on resonance. So they're discussing the pursuit of accuracy in mechanical movements. And when I first started reading this article, I was thinking of the space view with its tuning fork movement. However, resonance is a little bit different. This article defines resonance and gives us a little bit of history on it. They write, "What is resonance? It is a physical phenomenon of synchronized motion. In the second half of the 17th century, Christian Huygens, a Dutch physicist, invented a pendulum clock, a crucial innovation that revolutionized the entire watch industry. He also discovered that when he connected two of these pendulums to one wooden beam, they started to run synchronously. After a few moments to reach sync, these two pendulums worked as one." And that's what resonance operates on. And this article is discussing a watch that has a resonant movement in it. And the piece that they're discussing in this article is the Armstrong mirrored force resonance. And as you can see, it uses two balance springs. However, those two balance springs are connected by a third spring. And this third spring is called the resonance clutch spring. And what this does is it causes the two balance springs to work in perfect unison, just like the board with the two pendulums attached to it. What do I think of this watch? I think that's an absolutely brilliant idea. I love the way they took existing known physics that we uncovered a long time ago and figured out how to use those physics in a contemporary mechanical movement. It would be really cool to see how this watch performs on a Timegrapher, assuming you could put it on a Timegrapher. I guess if the balance springs are working in sync with one another, it would be able to pick up a single tick and talk, so maybe you could. It would be interesting to see just how accurate these watches are. And the watch looks pretty cool too. So there you have it, another round of wristwatch news. Thanks for watching.